First, aerial acrobatics with the Red Arrows trainees.
These 9 aircraft and pilots are famous for their speed, precision, and their incredible maneuvers. They represent the Royal Air Force at air displays and prestigious events all over the world. They are the Royal Air Force's aerobatics team, the Red Arrows. The story of the Red Arrows begins in 1965.
These are RAF pilots of the Central Flying School. Normally they give advanced flight training, but this is something quite different. Early in the year they formed a new unit, the Red Arrows. Their brief: set up an aerobatic team flying nat trainers which will steal the show at air displays all over Europe. They plotted maneuvers on a board with models, then rehearsed them in the air. And slowly, through the cloudy months of spring, the display took shape. It was tough, hard work. Week after week, 3 and 4 sorties a day, bending about the sky in loops and rolls, stressing the body through 6 times the force of gravity.
Change was, I think, a little too much speed for precision on that one. Over the top. Whoa, whoa, yippee nippee.
Above all, it takes teamwork.
Rolling out.
Today's team of 9 pilots fly the British Aerospace Hawk. They are numbered Red 1 to Red 9 according to their position in the trademark Diamond 9 formation. During the first half of a display, the team will fly together in what is known as a 9 ship. In the second half of the show, Red 6 and 7, known as the synchro pair, separate from the 9 ship to perform their own synchronized maneuvers. Red 1, squadron leader Andy Offer, known as the boss, is this year's team leader. As well as managing the entire squadron, including the engineers and administrators, it is his responsibility to train the new pilots up to the demanding standards necessary to qualify for the famous red flying suits awarded on Red Suit Day.
Red Suit Day is when the team of that year are officially called the Red Arrows, if you like. We get public display approval, which means we can go and do the job properly in front of the crowds. Up until that point, we are not considered up to the standard to be able to display. So all the training comes to fruition and we get our red suits.
Beginning in the autumn, it will take the entire team several months of intensive training to prepare for Red Suit Day the following spring.
From the day the new guys arrive, which was in September, we start off flying just 4 aircraft, and we get the new guys basically used to formation aerobatics. So we work our way all the way from 5,000 feet all the way down to 300 feet. And then gradually we build up the formation. So 3 aircraft, 4 aircraft, 5, all the way up to 7. And that takes us a couple of months. Running in parallel with that, Synchro doing their own training. And that runs all the way through this year, through January, February. And towards the end of February will be the earliest time that will start to bring Synchro into the main section.
The synchro pair are an important part of the Red Arrows. Whilst performing as part of the 9 ship, where all 9 jets will fly together, the pair will also perform their own synchronized daredevil passes, for which they've become renowned. Already experienced Red Arrows pilots, they will learn these maneuvers independently of the main team, prior to joining the others for further training on this year's full display.
Well, so far we've done about 15 weeks training, and we're about 2 weeks from our 9 ship, hopefully. We've learnt each manoeuvre in the first half, 1 manoeuvre at a time, each manoeuvre in the second half, 1 manoeuvre at a time. And we're just about at the point now where we can string them all together. So we'll wait for Synchro to finish their training. When they've finished and we finish, we'll then fly, just myself and Synchro leader together, doing a thing called timing runs to make sure the timing between the 2 sections work. And hopefully, I would say, about 2 weeks, we'll fly our first 9 ship. It'll be rusty, it won't be pretty, but it will be the night ship and it'll be safe. And then we can build on that night ship every day.
The intensive training schedule of the pilots is shared by that of the engineers who service the aircraft for them. Known as the Blues, owing to the blue flying suits they'll be awarded on Red Suit Day, these unseen heroes are an essential part of the Red Arrows squadron.
The Blues are tremendously important to us. We rely on getting 9 aeroplanes into the sky at exactly the right time for every show, sometimes with only 9 aircraft to start with. So, you know, we really have very small margins for losing aircraft due to unserviceability, and they work very, very hard to make sure that the aircraft are always in good order for us.
As the junior engineer, I go with the team everywhere. I fly in the back seat of the boss's aircraft, and I go to all the display venues during the display season, and I basically look after the jets whenever we're away. There are about 65 engineering and supply tradesmen working on the Red Arrows. They're broken down into various aircraft trades. There's airframe guys, or riggers. We've got propulsion people, or sumpies. We've got electrical tradesmen, or leckies. We've got avionics tradesmen, or fairies, as they're known. Lastly, we've got the armament tradesmen. The armourers look after the ejection seats and the miniature detonating cord that's fitted to the canopy. When he pulls the handle to eject, the canopy blows and the pilot escapes through air rather than through thick perspex.
Despite every precaution being taken by engineers and pilots alike, there is always an element of danger when 2 aircraft travel towards each other at over 1,000 kilometers an hour and only 91 meters above ground level.
If you hit something solid, be it an aircraft or the ground, it's terminal. And therefore you just make sure you don't do that, whether it's synchro or anywhere else in the formation.
Display flying is inherently more risky than flying in a jumbo jet. However, we have no limit on the amount of training we do, and we minimise all risks by training efficiently and very safely. We make something very difficult seem easy, and that's what we try and do. And if I see anything I don't like, I'll stop.
The level of concentration required during a display is just absolute. To try and explain that for 30 minutes I'm trying to position my aircraft in exactly the right place to within inches against another 2 aircraft next to me that are constantly moving and changing their flight path. So there is no time during the display when we can actually relax.
After every flight, we debrief that sortie from a videotape, and it's my responsibility as synchro leader to make sure Jim is flying the manoeuvres A, safely, and then B, correctly. Both of those will then give the impression in the second half that I require. So it's up to me to set the standard and to make sure both I and Jim meet that. We haven't done one for about 4 or 5 days. Given a short though, well done.
During their breathtaking maneuvers, the synchro pair can endure up to 8 times the force of gravity, or 8G, which brings with it some rather unpleasant complications.
If we pull 5G, then that means that your body and all the different parts in your body weigh 5 times what they would do normally. The problem with that is that your blood also weighs the same, and it gets dragged down towards your feet. So if you pull 8G, you black out quite easily. That's why we wear G-pants. This tube takes air from the aircraft systems and inflates the G-trousers, which in turn squeezes your legs, which keeps the blood in the top half of your body, hence your brain. It probably gives you an extra 2 G's worth of protection.
Despite these extreme conditions, the synchro pair's daredevil maneuvers never fail to impress the crowds. But just what are the tricks of their trade? The Red Arrows, the Royal Air Force's aerobatics team, are known the world over for their displays. Carefully planned and meticulously flown, their striking maneuvers appear to the onlooker as a magical yet impossible feat. As with most magic, however, there are secrets behind the illusion.
If you were to fly symmetrically, identically the whole time, then it would look as if you'd actually missed by a mile, even though you were very, very close indeed. So what you do is you fly a little bit lower and further away, but it actually looks closer. It's an illusion and it's called fudge. An example of that is, let's have flying tea bags, shall we? There you go. These are two aeroplanes, and the way you're looking at it, your line of sight, okay, you're down here in the crowd and you're looking up this way. If we fly at the same height, you're looking along this line and it looks as if this aeroplane's actually higher than this one. So we'll pass like so when you're looking along that line, and it makes it look as if the aeroplanes are actually missing nose to nose.
Though there may be an explanation for the trickery, nothing is ever as easy as it seems.
If you can imagine driving behind a car on the motorway in thick fog, but you had to stay 6 feet behind his bumper and he's weaving around, and you have to do that for 30 minutes, you get the idea of the concentration that you need. You didn't like it then?
It's difficult to pick a point and then roll around it.
Yeah.
You only sort of go, but then the wings don't become level.
Oh, don't they? Right.
Well, that's why I decided to stop. I thought I had to come and think about it on the ground.
Yeah.
I couldn't fathom it out in the air. I was going,
That was a goose.
good. It's good.
I like it. I always know if it's gone all right, the way your voice comes up.
It was about half a second late. That's all, but no. We're very close to flying our first 9, but we've got about 2 weeks' work, maybe a week and a half's work left. And if it carries on like this, no problems. If the weather stays kind to us and we carry on performing well, we'll be fine.
We've put together at the moment quite a respectable show, I think, and we've still got 2 months of training left to do in Cyprus. So once we get that under our belts, I'm really looking forward to Red Suit Day.
This relentless training will not be unusual for today's fighter pilots. They will already have at least 1,500 flying hours in a fast jet, which generally takes around 10 years to achieve. Even with this degree of experience, the quest for precision is paramount.
Am I sitting a bit short there? I reckon even if you went, you might only go back there about 18 inches, and then that would probably still look okay. As team leader, if the show's bad, the person that it will reflect on mostly is me. So mentally I feel the pressure more, especially this year, my first year.
Despite the growing pressure on Andy and the other team members, the pilots have no doubts about the opportunities available to them in the Red Arrows.
Being a Red Arrow is just fantastic. Flying-wise and professionally, it's everything you see, but it's actually, I find it harder to do than it appears, if that makes sense. But something I hadn't thought about so much was socially, the sort of people you're able to meet on the ground, the opportunities you get to travel and meet, various people. You'll meet kings one minute, and the next minute you'll meet, a severely disabled child in a hospital. And not many people get the privilege to be able to see that sort of cross-section of person. And it's just, it's a fantastic honour to be able to do that for 3 years. And it just broadens your horizons massively, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
The job is awesome. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, flying jobs that I will ever do, I suspect, although I don't know. But I'll be very sad to leave here.
I set myself my own goals and the team goals that I wanted to achieve sort of chronologically. See one more? And we've achieved them one at a time. It's not been without problems, and it's not without problems now. We have flown our first 9 ship. It's not perfect. The twizzle is a particular manoeuvre that's not been easy. The boys have found it difficult. I think probably variable from me, and then it's variable all the way back. And we've come out of the 9 ship a couple of times to just practice that one manoeuvre. And that's not unusual, and there are a couple of manoeuvres like that. Synchro training's gone well, I don't like to say it, but they've done very well. And now, hopefully, we'll take the 9 ship to Cyprus. And over Cyprus, we'll just polish away at the 9 ship, looking to be ready for our public display authority in mid-May.
As the pilots gain confidence, the team will move from their home airfield to practice over other military sites, where a different landscape offers a variation in reference points. One such sortie is RAF Valley in North Wales.
I'm Andy Evans, Red 8, in my final year with the team, and I'm in charge of the Nav Empire for the team. So I look after a lot of the planning to going to displays and to transits. We're going across to RAF Valley because we've got a display in North Wales. And en route, Carnarvon have asked for a fly past. It's right next to Valley, so that's easy, so we've said yes to that. So we're going from flat old Lincolnshire to the wonderful scenery across in North Wales. 150 miles is going to take us 29 minutes or thereabouts. From experience, Cranwater Valley in the car probably take yourself 4 hours for going across. It's always exciting for some more than others. Going across to North Wales, a couple of the guys on the team come from there, so they love it when we go over there. They can show us their local haunts.
Precisely 274 kilometres and 29 minutes later, the team arrives at RAF Valley.
Nice walk, Valley. Surprised you boys aren't in swimming trunks. It's a nice day for you, isn't it?
The weather isn't always a factor, as not all of the training at Valley takes place in the air.
This is the BAE Systems Hawk flight simulator, and all Hawk pilots in the RAF come here for a 1-hour emergency sortie. It gives them the opportunity in a realistic situation to practice all of their emergencies and procedural drills.
The thing that this simulator can do is it can give me emergencies during low-level aerobatics, and of course if I get distracted, even for a very short time, that's very dangerous. So it helps me get used to having a major emergency while I'm doing low-level aerobatics.
What you'll see today is a formation takeoff, and shortly after takeoff we'll simulate the aircraft suffering a bird strike, a bird going down the engine and failing the engine, and then the pilot having to negotiate his way around the corner and back and land on the airport again using an alternative runway.
So I'll probably do a little bit of the display and he'll throw some emergencies at me, and I'll deal with it safely, trying to think about the crowd, where the crowd are, so I keep the crowd safe, the other airplanes, so I keep the other airplanes safe, and then hopefully, you know, as a last resort, I get the airplane back on the runway safely to save the airplane.
Andy Offer is dealing with a simulated bird strike. In 1998, this situation was a reality for one of the Reds' pilots, Ian Smith. During a formation practice, his jet suffered a bird strike, resulting in the loss of the canopy. The pilot had to remain in control of his aircraft, fly out of the formation, and assess the situation. It was vital that he had time to think before making a decision on whether or not to eject or attempt to land the aircraft safely. A landing area was chosen and a route, ensuring that, if the pilot needed to eject, the aircraft would crash land in open countryside, minimizing the risk to the local population. Safely on the ground, the damage was assessed. Perspex pieces from the canopy had damaged the engine compressor blades, the nose section, the underwing fuel pod, as well as the main fuselage, the pilot's helmet, and his flying suit. This pilot's training paid off, though unfortunately, the flock of lapwings with whom he collided were not so lucky.
Valley is 25013, 10 k's nil, few at 1500, broken at 3000.
The team brief on the wing, another routine to be practiced before the summer season, now fast approaching. This display at RAF Valley will be one of their last before leaving for Cyprus, in preparation for Red Suit Day.
Into 9 Arrow for our start point, which is by the big lake close to the nest. Coming left, I'm watching you, smoke off go from me, round for a twizzle. Just a little bit collapsing, a little bit catching up. Just make a nice twizzle. So far, I'm very, very happy. The team have progressed very well. We've been really, really lucky with the weather. We've done a good job, and we're just looking forward to going to Cyprus.
At last, the entire squadron is ready to leave the rainy British weather behind them and go on detachment to RAF Akrotiri. Here, the training will intensify as this year's Red Arrows team approaches Red Suit Day.
This is the end of the winter workup period. Everyone's managing to get the jets sorted out. We've got all the major maintenance activity out the way, and it's the first big push. It's the first time we've got 11 going away. All the backseat guys are going. So it's just the end of that whole process of getting everybody ready for Cyprus.
Despite all the preparation, the Red Arrows are not automatically granted public display authority and the accompanying red flying suits.
Everybody assumes that we'll be there in the summer, but there is a formal hurdle to climb over where our Commander-in-Chief will come out to Cyprus. He won't actually just watch one show, he'll be there for 3 or 4 days. Watch how it's going, how we're progressing as a team. What he's looking for is a safe and a good display that he's happy to release to the public. And it is well within his rights to say, I'm not happy, you guys stay here for another week, another 2 weeks, and I'll come back. And so for us, we take it very seriously, we should take it very seriously, and we treat it with the respect it deserves.
To give the public display authority means that I am satisfied on behalf of the Royal Air Force that the team are safe, and safe in every respect, safe in the air, safe in their positioning over the ground, so if something untoward does happen, that we've thought it all through beforehand. This is the end of a lengthy work-up process where the Commandant of the Central Flying School has been watching them along the way. But I'll go and spend 4 or 5 days with them, and I'll watch the full display and the bad weather display, really so that I can satisfy myself that they have reached that standard of excellence that we're looking for.
The weather's then. Cranwell. It's 09010, 1400 metres in mist, 3 at 200, 7 at 9,000. So you can already see it's a poor day here. Nav, right, if you pick your high-level charter, the route is fairly simple. It should be easy. Germany always helpful.
In order to transport the enormous amount of equipment necessary to support the team of 9 pilots and 65 engineers during their detachment in Cyprus, a Hercules transport aircraft is carefully loaded with the supplies. The cargo includes over 2,000 kilos of aircraft spares, a Hawkjack weighing in at 430 kilos, approximately 1,200 kilos in compressed gases, medical supplies, and of course the coveted red suits themselves.
Okay, ready for canopy. Yes, sir. Thanks. See you in Cyprus. Switch on.
It's going to be great. It's hot and sunny. Hard work, but nice weather, good place to be, good weekends. It's going to be great.
Red House, come on ground departure clearance. Red House on departure, turn right heading 120, climb flight level 240, squawk 6133.
Air shows the world over will have already booked the team, and there'll be thousands of fans looking forward to seeing them. We can only wait to see if this year's pilots live up to the standards set by those who flew before them and are awarded the opportunity to represent the Royal Air Force and their country.
One of the most common things said to me is that there's still 2 things that are great to be British. When the average British person sees Concorde or the Red Arrows, it brings a bit of a lump to the throat, so I think that sums it up.
Next, we'll examine the incredible career of the legendary Formula One driver Jackie Stewart in the glory years before fate took a hand. Meet the Flying Scot after the break.